Welcome to Department of Chemistry, Dr. V. S. Krishna Government Degree College, Autonomous, Vishakhapatnam.
Today's topic is pesticides pollution. The key concepts we are going to discuss are: what are pesticides, how pesticides can be classified, and their biochemical effects. Okay, what are pesticides? A comprehensive definition is any substance intended for preventing, destroying, or controlling any pest, including vectors of human or animal disease, unwanted species of plants or animals, causing harm during the production, processing, storage, transport, or marketing of agricultural commodities. Simply, we can define them as pesticides are substances that are meant to control pests. What are pests? A pest is any animal or plant harmful to humans or human concerns. The term is particularly used for creatures that damage crops, livestock, and forestry, or cause a nuisance to people, especially in their homes. For example, insects that damage crops, property, and health of humans and pets. Animals that can spoil the crops. Weeds, the unwanted plants in crop fields which grow along with the main crop. All such plants and animals can be called as pests. Classification of pesticides. Pesticides can be classified in different ways based on different aspects. Some of them are: 1. Classification based on target species. 2. Classification based on chemical nature. 3. Classification based on mode of action. 4. Classification based on biodegradability. Okay. Let us see how pesticides can be classified based on the pest they control. Herbicides used for killing weeds or herbs. Example is 2,4-D. Insecticides used for killing insects. Example is DDT. Fungicides used for killing fungi. Example is neem oil. Nematicides used for killing nematode. Example is aldicarb. Rodenticides used for killing rodents, rat, mice, etc. Example is zinc phosphide. Acaricides used for killing arachnids or mites. Example is permethrin. Molluscicides used for killing mollusks, snails, slugs, etc. Example is metaldehyde. Let us see the classification of pesticides according to chemical nature. Chlorinated hydrocarbon, example is DDT. Organophosphates, example is parathion, malathion. Carbamate, example is carbaro. Pyrethroids, example is cyflothrin. Others. Examples are copper sulfate, ferrous sulfate, zinc phosphide, etc. Let us see the classification of pesticides according to mode of action. Classification of insecticides. 1. Contact insecticides. Kill only insects they are sprayed or dusted onto. 2. Stomach-acting insecticides. Kill only insects that eat plant parts sprayed with insecticide. 3. Systemic insecticides. This type of insecticide is transported within the plant and kill insects and they suck sap or eat parts of the plant. 4. Fumigant. Kill insects and inhale toxic vapors of the chemical. Classification of herbicides. 1. Pre-emergence. A herbicide applied to the soil during the period after planting and before germination. 2. Selective. A herbicide that kills small weeds and seeds but leave the crop. 3. Non-selective. A herbicide that kills all plants sprayed. 4. Post-emergence. A herbicide applied to growing weeds after crop emergence or transplanting. Pesticides are also classified based on biodegradability. 1. Biodegradable. The biodegradable kind is those which can be broken down by microbes and other living beings into harmless compounds. 2. Persistent. While the persistent ones are those which may take months or years to break down. What are the benefits of pesticides? The major advantage of pesticides is that they can save farmers by protecting crops from insects and other pests. Some other primary benefits are controlling pests and plant disease vectors, controlling human, livestock disease vectors and nuisance organisms, controlling organisms that harm other human activities and structures. They can be toxic too. Since pesticides are intended to be toxic, they are biologically active agents, created to elicit a physiological reaction. This means that although they are effective in pest control, they can potentially endanger humans, household pets, and the environment as well. In fact, pesticide poisoning and related fatalities are a fairly common occurrence, with over 5 million cases occurring each year across the world. What is the environmental impact of pesticides? Because pesticides are sprayed over large areas of land, they are causing widespread impact on the environment. Over 95% of herbicides and over 98% of insecticides do not reach the targeted pest. The major portion is carried away by wind and water runoff and affect a number of non-target plant and animal species. Storage, transportation, and production allow some quantities of pesticides to be introduced to the environment. Short-term effects of pesticides on human health. Short-term pesticide poisoning or acute toxicity from pesticides can happen due to exposure via the skin, inhalation, through the eyes, or orally. Symptoms of acute toxicity can become apparent instantly or take as long as 48 hours. Short-term effects of pesticides can manifest as nausea and vomiting, diarrhea, loss of consciousness, seizures, coughing and sore throat, extreme weakness. Long-term effects of pesticides. Continual, low-dose exposure to pesticides can cause serious harm to human health in the long term. A potential cause for a number of diseases such as cancer, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, sterility, and developmental disorders. Lead to genetic changes and serious nerve disorders. May cause asthma, ADHD, depression, and anxiety. Pesticides that contain endocrine disruptors interfere with our hormones and hormonal balance. Over a period of time, even low concentrations of these chemicals can cause obesity, diabetes, thyroid tumors, decreased fertility, uterus abnormalities, and early puberty. Effects of pesticides on pregnant women. Exposure to pesticides and pesticide residue can lower fertility in women. Pesticides contain chemicals that attack the nervous system of pests, can also affect the development of the baby's nervous system. Pregnant women exposed to pesticides may give birth to babies with cleft palate, heart defects, neural tube defects, and limb abnormalities. Pesticide exposure may cause miscarriages, perinatal death, and premature birth. Effects of pesticides on the environment. Widespread use of pesticides in agriculture, long-term environmental damage. Some pesticides can stick around for years, posing a very real threat to the ecological system and hence human health. Excessive and careless use of pesticides can contaminate water sources and soil, make fruits and vegetables less nutritious, and reduce biodiversity. Some pesticides have also been linked to the dramatic reduction in the number of bees across the world, posing a huge threat to agriculture and food security, given that bees pollinate more than 70% of all crops. As the soil microbes are affected by pesticides, the fertility of the soil decreases. Pesticides washed away from agricultural fields into the aquatic environment are causing serious damage to aquatic flora and fauna. The bioamplification of pesticides in the top tropics of the food chain is leading to the extinction of some carnivorous animals. What is the solution? Today there is a consensus among a wide range of stakeholders that pesticide use needs to be gradually reduced to a level that is effectively required to ensure crop production, and that risks of pesticide application need to be reduced as far as possible. Here are listed 7 strategies available for pesticide reduction. 1. Agronomic practices. 2. Resistant crops. 3. Biocontrol and natural pesticides. 4. Integrated pest management, IPM. 5. Agroecology. 6. Organic agriculture. And 7. Use of less hazardous pesticides.